Coloring does not have to be flat and boring. You can take a simple shape and turn it into a three-dimensional, realistic-looking leaf. And I'll show you how in real time, so stick around. Hello colorists, welcome to Pencil Stash, a weekly show all about coloring. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to get all the new content, and be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying my videos. Hey there, PencilStashers. I am liking this short format, really in-depth look at sharpening your coloring skills. So today, we're diving back into the Johanna Basford coloring book, Magical Jungle, and tackling this page. Well, not the whole page. Actually, just this leaf, this one right here. And we're going to take this relatively flat surface and enhance it with some texture to make it more realistic. So I've gone through all my colored pencils, my Prismacolors, my Crayolas, and I've pulled some greens, golds, and browns that I may end up using. And I'm going to be calling out the colors, and they'll be up on the screen that I'm using as I go. So the very first step is putting down a foundational layer of a bunch of different colors across the surface of our leaf. And this is just going to be your bottom layer, your starter layer. And we're going to keep adding and tweaking and layering other colors on top. So don't worry too much about this being perfect. It's very hard to mess up. Now, something that I like to do is start with my lighter colors. And I really try to think about where my light source would be hitting on my leaf shape here. So I'm localizing my light colors in sort of a straight line across the left side of my leaf. But again, it's not quite a straight line, it's, a very soft line. But that line is not up against any of my edges. As I sort of kind of see this leaf and its different sections as sort of having a convex shape. So that light's only going to be kind of hitting across the top of that surface. Oh, and by the way, here's a helpful tip. Feel free to pull up some leaf reference photos on Pinterest or Google image search while you do this. And it really applies to anything that you're coloring, not just a leaf. Anything that you're coloring, having a resource photo can be incredibly helpful, not only for examining how light interacts with the shapes, but it also gives you inspiration for your color palette too. Now, going back to something that I mentioned a minute ago, I think that some people think that when they're trying to recreate a realistic looking image from a reference photo, they think that they need to recreate it kind of right away, like right off the bat, without realizing that it actually requires like a multi-step, multi-layered approach. You can't just create the veins and the colors and, kind of go through it like that. There's a definite process to it. And then they get discouraged. It's like trying to create a realistic human face without putting down any of your kind of reference circles, your shapes. Those are the foundational layers that you build the rest of your artwork off of. And it's the same thing with coloring and really any colored pencil work that you might be tackling. So back to the page here, I'm just continuing to add in multiple greens and golds in various spots across our leaf. And again, you don't have to overthink this, just go with your gut and use the techniques that you've learned. Use your light pressure, your orbital strokes, your feathering into adjacent colors, and your layering. And just keep doing that until you are satisfied with the finished result and all of the white space on your leaf surface has been covered. And when that's done, I'd like to go back in over some of my areas with the lightest green that I use, that first one, which is gray-green light. And I'm just going to go over some of my transition areas between my colors. And I'm using very light pressure, orbital strokes here. And this is just going to soften those areas just a bit, maybe where some of those transitions might need to be softened. And I kind of like these more golden tones, so I'm just going to layer in some additional ones with my Prismacolor bronze. And again, I know I talked about this earlier, but again, it's just a really great reason to use a reference. You can kind of see all the different color tones that are in a leaf. They're not just all green. There's bronze tones, orange or yellows, reds, and adding color variation will definitely help to sell that realistic look that you're trying to achieve. All right, here comes the fun part. We're going to begin the process of adding in our texture. And with leaves, texture usually means veining. So I'm going to begin drawing in some with my Prismacolor dark brown. And again, a reference photo helps here big time just to make sure that you're creating the right sort of shapes for your veining. And it may not look it, but I'm always nervous as hell when I do these kind of freehand shapes like this with a colored pencil and not just a regular pencil, since it's very hard to backtrack once your color's down. But trust yourself, and again, know that leaves are organic shapes, so it's pretty hard to mess this up. And while I do this, I'd love to share a story that a Pencil Stash viewer recently sent to me. Her name is Sue. Hi, Sue. And she's a very active person, a yoga instructor, stand-up paddleboarder, and even an adventure motorcyclist. Well, she recently had surgery where she had to spend 6 to 8 weeks basically not doing any of those active things that she loves. So, as part of her recovery, she decided to give coloring a try. So Sue found our channel and started watching and found that she really loves coloring. So I loved hearing from you, Sue. Thank you so much for your email. So I hope that you'll all join me in sending Sue some good vibes and wish her a speedy recovery. And now I share this story because it's actually one that I've heard a lot over the last 2 years. And I've really found that, folks are finding coloring as a wonderful creative outlet because they're either recovering from a surgery or an illness. And I wanted folks to know that they're not alone in that and that there's a wonderful community of colorists out there who are going through a similar journey and have decided to make coloring a part of their lives. All right, so that step is done. And now we're going to take that same brown and we're going to place this down on either side of all of our edges around our different sections. And I'm only coming out like barely at all. It's like a 1/16 of an inch or so, very, very small, but just enough to simulate the shadow that a curvature would create here in between kind of the crevice areas. And you'll notice that as I do this, it gives an immediate 3D effect. It makes such a difference. Shading is a quick and easy way to make your objects more realistic and kind of give some shape and some weight to them. Now, leaves and foliage, flowers, trees, they're all very common items on a coloring page. And I'm a firm believer in coloring in your own style. You certainly don't need to mimic anyone else's. It's good practice, but whatever your style may be, just embrace it. And, try to have fun once in a while. If you're not a realistic colorer, try it. Just take one leaf on one single page and just give it a try. You will be surprised at how much fun and how much easier it is than you thought that it would be. Now, just to drive home that weight just a little bit more, I'm going to take this dark, warm gray, and I'm just going to line the crevices. Now, I'm not adding any additional line weight here. I'm just going right over the line that was already there. And this brings back that bold, dark line that the artist originally put down. It gets a little cloudy from the wax pencils kind of going right over top of it. Those lines have a tendency to just get a little bit muted. So if you want to bring that back a little bit, you can just kind of go over your lines with just a dark gray. And then back to that same dark brown, I'm going to start to pull this dark brown color inward from the edges with a very light pressure, circular strokes. And this is going to help soften those lines that we put in before, and it'll create a much more kind of gradual transition up towards where I would say is kind of that high point in the curvature of those leaf sections. And I'm just going to go back and forth between the brown and my warm gray, kind of further refining the areas that I just kind of want to darken up a little bit. And that's really it, folks. Now you can go, and that's really it for the most part. Now you can always go back in over top of this too, maybe with that gray-green light that I used originally or that blender pencil, just to, continue to soften up any edges if you want to. But this is my version. It's certainly in very much my style of a realistic looking leaf, and I think it's just adorable. Now, thank you so much for watching this week, guys. I'm so sorry the video is a bit late. I was out of town for the weekend and playing catch up. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. And make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I've uploaded new content. And if you'd like even more Pencil Stash tutorials, you can check out my channel for years' worths of videos. And thanks again, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.